أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Dear respected viewers, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In regards to last week's show, I wanted to start off with an apology to our viewers as we anticipated that everything had been in working order. Unfortunately, there was a mishap and it was something that was out of our control. But inshallah, this week and moving forward, everything should be a-okay. And inshallah, we won't have any more glitches. Today's show with guest speaker Sheikh Mohammad Mehdi. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Viewers, today our topic is about money. Inshallah, I'll pass it over to the Sheikh and he'll give us a short description in regards to the topic that he'd like to discuss and how he'd like to answer the questions that are to come. So I'll pass it on to the Sheikh, and inshallah after his short speech we'll move on to the questions. We hope that you enjoy the show. Please like and share the page, which will help us in regards to promoting the message of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam further, wider, and inshallah in a more international sense. Sheikhna.
Thank you. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله اللهم لعن ولا ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتلها اللهم لعنهم جميعا ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم قل اللهم مالك الملك تؤتي الملك من تشاء وتنزع الملك ممن تشاء. Allah Azza wa Jal says, say in the Quran that Allah is Malik al-Mulk. Allah is the one that has sovereignty and He owns all sovereignty. He gives this mulk or wealth or ownership to whoever He pleases, and He takes it from whoever He pleases. Amanna billah, sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim. Now, the subject today is money, and generally when people talk about money, for some strange reason they tend to associate money with evil. They say money is evil. Money is not evil, or I should say money is about as evil as this table is evil. Money is about as evil as this phone or the camera that I'm looking at or the laptop or computer or television that you're looking at is evil. See, money is a medium. It's not about whether money or wealth is good or evil. It's about what this wealth is used for and how it is acquired. Firstly, I need to look at money in general and understand that wealth and money will always remain in this dunya while the dunya is around, but you and I will leave. We come and go, and our money is transferred from one person to the other. It goes down in inheritance or in some kind of gain or loss. It moves about. So it's neither good nor is it bad. And in fact, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says to his son in his commandment, in his wasiyah, he says, فَالْمَالُ لَا يَبْقَى لَكَ وَلَا تَبْقَى لَهُ. That neither will wealth or money remain for you, nor will you remain for them. So eventually you're going to part ways. So we see even to the point where not only people give inheritance to other people, in I think in the United States of America, I think it's about $5 billion worth of property that has not been inherited by anybody. It's just there. And there were people that left stuff for the animals. There's millionaire animals out there. There's dogs, there's cats that have inherited money. So even can move towards money. So we can't say that God has cursed wealth, nor should we even be spiteful towards money in general. So a pious, wealthy man is something good, because with this wealth or this money, he can assist people and help others around the world. The thing is, what's wrong, just as any other medium, is when I feel secure because I have money. That's a false sense of security, because one day you could be the richest person in the world, one day you could be, the other day you could be the poorest person in the world. Things happen. There could be a financial crisis and everything will go topsy-turvy and upside down. Things change. Allah Azza wa Jal gives wealth to whomsoever He pleases, and He takes it from whomsoever He pleases. The other thing is that I need to understand that money is a medium that can't buy me everything. You remember that email that we used to receive, which most people of this generation won't remember this, because now they use Facebook and other mediums. Back when we used to send messages to one another when we were younger, they send them just by email. And they used to send this message where they'd say, money can buy you a bed, but it can't buy you sleep. Money can buy you a house, but it can't buy you a home. Money can buy you books, but it can't buy you knowledge. See, money can't buy you everything. And if it could buy you life, then rich people wouldn't die. They wouldn't just suddenly die, because it doesn't give you any life extension, and nor will it avail you in the hereafter. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. It will not avail you in the grave. You can't give, I don't know if you've heard where they used to leave the silver coins so people can give the guy that was in the boat that helps them cross the water. I forget which culture had that as a tradition, where they give silver coins. I can't remember the guy's name. That thought just came to my head now. But you can't even bribe the angel of death, nor can you bribe the angels that will be questioning you. And money doesn't mean happiness, nor does poverty mean anxiety and angst and sadness. I need to acknowledge that my money is not mine. Allah is sovereign. Allah owns everything. And I need to know, when I acknowledge this and I understand, then I have an ease when it comes to dealing with it. And that's why people like Qarun, when they asked him about his wealth, Allah says in the Quran, وَآتَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْكُنُوزِ, that we didn't give him a kanz. Allah says we gave him kunuz. A kanz is a treasure trove. We gave him treasure troves. Imagine this is like Alexander Dumas's book, the Count of Monte Cristo. This guy found a treasure trove, an unbelievable amount, or this guy had an unbelievable amount of wealth. Sorry, not he found, had an unbelievable amount of wealth. Allah Azza wa Jalla says we gave this to him. But when they asked him, he said, إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي, that I acquired this wealth myself from my own understanding. They say he was an alchemist, that he was able to turn metals into precious metals or into gold. Just like, sometimes you tell someone, you're wealthy, but he says to you, "Man ala ijbini," from the sweat of my brow, I have earned all this money. That's wrong. You're not working as hard as a child in the mines in some of these countries, and are working or for small amounts of money. You're not working as hard as them. And you could be sitting behind a desk. You're not doing as much work as someone that's roofing in the middle of December or January. You're not doing that kind of hard work. But doesn't mean that their work, that they will acquire more money than what you will. The money that's given and the wealth is given, Allah gives it. It's not from your skills. It's not from your intellect. How many rich people, the Clive Palmers of society, is a billionaire? you know, or you've got Joe Biden. Honestly, you know, if you combine Joe Biden, Clive Palmer's, and maybe someone else's IQ, it probably wouldn't add up to 100. But if you put all these people in one room, he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire and he has all this wealth without that. Unlike Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, when he gained his wealth and he became in the position that he was a ruler of Egypt, in that position, it said, he said, Rabbi qad ataytani min al-mulk. Oh Allah, you're the one that gave me this. Recognition of the Creator giving him this. So money, like I mentioned, didn't avail many rich people. If you take a look at when they say, and this isn't this isn't false information, this isn't fake news, if I want to borrow Donald Trump's term. If you take a look at if you take a look at Muammar Gaddafi, and I think I found it, and it was written in the Business Insider, it said he was worth $200 billion. That's what it said, $200 billion. He was richer than Jeff Bezos before his wife left him. You know, not after, not when he had to split the funds. So he was worth more than that. It didn't avail him. They took him and they even impaled him with a bar before they killed him. And if you take a look at all these other rich people that met their demise and their wealth did not avail them. Now, some people try and say, for example, that wealth doesn't affect me. You know, I don't like wealth. You know, I've heard some people go, I can go to the beach and lower my gaze and I don't look at anyone. I have this much piety. Or someone says, I can look at scantily clad women and it doesn't affect me, even though Allah Azza wa Jal says to the believers to lower their gaze. You know, those people that feign piety. There's some people that feign religiosity when it comes to wealth. They say, I don't like money. No, you're lying because God says, وَتُحِبُّونَ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمًّا. People like wealth. People like money. People don't dislike money. It's not like if they didn't like it, then they wouldn't seek it. They love it because it's a means for their livelihood and not for money itself. Pretty much that's as much of an introduction as we can give to what wealth and money is.
Ahsantum Sheikhna. Jazakallah for the introduction to the topic of money. Sheikh, so, you know, you've obviously mentioned very strong points, you know, especially the recent point that you mentioned about the fact that, you know, we love money. Human beings are like that, you know, as the traditions say, you give them a mountain of gold, you know, they ask, where's the second mountain? So it's something that's in the human nature. With regards to that, we have a series of questions which many of the viewers may be familiar with or they may not be familiar with, and this is something that we want to try and address in this The Guided Show, where we can address questions that people aren't necessarily used to in order for them to have more of a broad spectrum of questions and complications within the 21st century, especially nowadays, where people are experiencing different things and go through different times and challenges and whatnot. So, as I said, some questions may be very relevant to the past, some may be relevant to the present. However, inshallah, we will go through them one by one. So, viewers, I hope you can bear patient with us, but they are very interesting questions. So, inshallah, we'll begin with the first question, Sheikhna. What is this thing that the Quran talks about that's known as khums? What is khums? Why is it so important?
Okay. Generally, excuse me. So you put your phone on aeroplane mode and then
Definitely.
and then an alarm comes on. You forget about that. All right. So generally, wherever you go in the world, there is a tax system.
Yeah.
And why we have a tax system that's implemented is because we go back to the original point where I said the wealth or money isn't yours. So say, for example, I was to give you $1,000.
Yep.
And I say it's yours. If you spend it all, sahtana al-baq, it's all yours. But then I said to you, whatever's left over and you don't spend, I don't want any of it back except 20%.
Yep.
So if I gave you $1,000 and then you spend 800, you're left with 200, and I ask you to pay a tax, and that's it, 5% on what the profit of your earnings. So the khums is there, and it's a good system. Why? Because if you take a look at our tax system, who pays tax? The poor people.
Yep.
Rich people don't pay tax. I remember something I read when I was in high school, where Kerry Packer, the father of James Packer, paid $30 personal tax.
Wow.
$30. And at the time, he was the richest man in Australia. Probably it was between him and Rupert Murdoch, but Rupert Murdoch had become an American citizen.
Okay.
But he was the richest person. He paid $30 personal tax. Whereas with khums, the tax is paid by the people that have money. Not everyone. The poor people don't pay khums. So that's why it's an obligation in order for money, basically, in order for those that have excess money which has been given by God, of the profits, they pay percentage on their excess and not on actual money that they have.
Yeah. Okay. So just to add a slight point to that. So the Quran specifically, from my little knowledge, tells you that the specified areas where the khums goes to. So a lot of people have this notion that why should I pay khums and where's it going? So is that something that we should just follow the system that's in place without questioning, or is this just something that it's for your own good? It's something that you should be doing. Just go ahead and do it, and the Quran has specified for you what it needs to go to. So is it a matter of something where people need to come and question, like, this is something that I've never done, so why should I do it all of a sudden?
Well, it's good to question things that are in your field and your understanding.
Yeah.
For me to question something in the laws of religion, people have a habit of questioning only things that have to do with religion. And you can't blame 5G for this, like they like to blame it for everything. When it comes to the khums system, we follow the book of God, and the book of God talks about ghanimtum, which many people might say, because it's in Surah Al-Anfal, it's spoils of war. People tend to say that because that's the meaning of the actual surah. So they say, see, it's got to do with spoils of war, but there's even non-Shia interpreters that say it's not only spoils of war.
Okay,
it's from profit as well. So we can't just say that. Where's it spent? Well, khums is spent to propagate faith, to spread faith. In fact, the Quran puts it under إنما الصدقات. It mentions what they're paid for.
Okay.
And this has to do with khums. And it says in it, للفقراء, for the poor people. And just to give you a faqir, generally the understanding is a faqir that doesn't have a salary. Someone that lives basically from month to month or week to week, but doesn't have a salary. It's not set. And then it says al-masakin. A miskin is not like a faqir. A miskin is someone that doesn't even have his daily bread. So a miskin is in even worse state than a faqir. And the other groups, one of them is al-amilina alayha, the people that basically work with the tax, the people that have to collect the money, give the money, they get an income from it. And an income taban for them to live, and not excessive. It's not a commission-based thing where if I collect $100,000,
you get more a percentage.
No. It's not given in that manner. You live on what you need. It becomes like an income for that person. Ibn Sabil, someone that's generally we don't have that anymore because the world's pretty much connected. But if someone's cut off, khums is used to help them. It says wal gharimin, someone in severe debt, someone that needs to get out of their debt and needs help. And it also talks about mu'allafati qulubuhum, those that are close to religion. And if you give them money or they're close to being righteous, you can help them and bring them back towards God. That's another one. Wafir riqab, which is another thing that doesn't hear. A riqab means to free a slave, which pretty much, which generally isn't around anymore. But the khums was used in order to get rid of slavery before the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln. We're talking about Rasulullah Mohammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was abolishing slavery 1300 years or before Abraham Lincoln
Yep.
even thought about doing it. So they actually
Okay.
got into the market sooner. So that's pretty much what it's used for. Sorry
Okay.
about the
No, that's fine. That's fine, Sheikh. No.
congested response. Yeah.
That's all right. So just the Sheikh did mention one thing before we move on to the next question. There was a very important point with regards to the difference in definition of a faqir and a miskin. So if you kind of lost track along the way, feel free to watch the video again after the program is finished, and you'll be able to get a precise definition on what the difference is, because it's something that may just bypass us when we read it, but obviously as a Muslim it's important to have quite a thorough understanding of what you're reading, and rather not just reading what's in front of you, rather having a deeper, more inner understanding of what is trying to be said. Jazakumullah khair al-jazak, Sheikh, for the answer. Inshallah, moving forward. So another question with regards to the khums, before we move off the topic of khums. Obviously it's a very broad topic. It needs its own show. It speaks volumes. However, we just wanted to kind of give the viewers that may have not come across it a bit of insight, as it is something that's very widely accepted and obviously known to be connected to the topic of money. Sheikhna, if I've never paid khums before, never, and I continue to spend the money that is in my possession, so the money that I earn either from a job or if I've been given inheritance or whatever the case may be, is my money halal money, or is it considered haram money due to the fact that you may be withholding the khums part of your money, which is obviously allocated to set individuals and or things that it needs to be spent on?
All right, if I asked you a question, you earn an honest living.
Yeah.
If you owed someone money and you're not paying it, does your money become unlawful? Does it become soft?
Good question. No.
That's right.
It wouldn't. Yeah.
That's the same here.
Yeah.
The money doesn't become unlawful per se, because what makes your money unlawful is how you acquired it.
Okay.
But you owe. You're in debt. Now, some of the fuqaha would talk about like your hajj being questionable.
Okay.
But because you performed hajj without money that had khums paid on it.
Yeah.
But if you intend on paying it or are going to pay it, obviously if you're going to the hajj, you're someone capable of going to the hajj is capable of paying your khums.
100%.
You know what I mean? But doesn't mean your money is unlawful.
Yeah.
What it means is you've committed a sin and your hajj has a question mark on it.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Okay.
But your money is still lawful.
Okay. Awesome. Moving on, Sheikh. So that's just like a touch up on khums. Like we said, it does speak volumes. We can do episode after episode after episode, but it's something that, just keeps going on and on and on. But inshallah, moving forward. So it's a question for you, Sheikh, that's very interesting. I'm sure it's happened to yourself and it's happened to a lot of us. If I'm walking on the street and I find money on the floor, first part of the question, am I allowed to take it? Second part, what are the rules concerning finding money and keeping it?
Firstly, start off with, if I saw a huge stack of money,
Yeah.
I think there's a drug deal going on. I hope no one's going to shoot me or something to begin off with. But generally, it's not a good habit to pick up things that aren't yours.
Yeah.
However, we're talking about loose money here.
Yeah.
Like if I found a phone, it's sometimes convenient for somebody to find the owner of that phone,
Yeah.
or hand it into lost property. Like we have systems where I remember I lost my wallet when I was about 8, back in the days where people used to actually carry wallets.
Yeah.
I don't know if people still carry wallets now.
More digital now.
Yeah, so I lost my wallet and in Eddy Avenue in Central.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it had got handed in.
Okay.
So I went to go collect, and they handed me the wallet. It had been given into lost property, and everything was still in it, inside the wallet. The money wasn't there. So I asked, they said they gave me a check instead. They said, so when the money was handed in, it's automatically taken in and registered.
Yep.
So the money was still in the wallet when the person handed the money back.
Okay. Yep.
Do you know what I mean? But so the system works somewhat. So you may say that if it's been handed in, it could work. And generally with our jurists, our fuqaha, they talk about living with the law of the land. But let's take a look. Let's say, what if the amount that I've picked up is an insignificant amount?
Yeah.
What's an insignificant amount? Generally, we're talking about the price of a silver coin, a dirham, which would say, if you want to say a silver coin, the price of silver per gram is about, 50 cents now?
I have no idea, to be honest with
So
you.
if I'm not going to say, I know someone that likes silver, but I'm not going to say his name right now because he'll get upset because I've mentioned that before. But anyway, so with the silver coin, the weight, I think, of the silver coins, let's say,
Give a hypothetical situation.
30 grams, say 25 to 30 grams. All right, so we got this silver coin in weight. The wealth, the value has to be less than that. So let's say 30 times 50 is $15. Let's say under $15, under $13 or $12.
It's considered insignificant.
So let's say $10.
Yeah.
$10 is insignificant. That one, if someone finds it and they want to take it, there's no issue with them taking it.
Yeah.
As long as it has no owner.
Yeah.
Okay. But if it has an owner and if it's a more amount, it's a great amount, I need to find the owner. So picking it up can put you in a bit of a pickle. So if I don't find the owner of the money, I can't just keep it. If I do take it, or in property in general, the rulings of what we call something that you pick up or find of a possession, there's rulings on it.
Okay.
So I have to find the owner. If I don't, I have to pay the value of it in sadaqah on their behalf.
Okay.
But even if I do that, if the owner comes back to me, I still have to give it to them if I still possess it.
Is that because you've dealt with his money on his behalf?
That's right.
Okay.
So the best thing is don't pick it up if it's not yours.
Yeah.
Or if you want to hand it into in this country that you live in, and being an Australian, there's the lost property laws. If you believe that they actually endeavour to find the owner, then you can hand it in there. There would be no issue in that matter.
Okay. So just to slightly touch up on that again before we move on. So like, let's give a realistic view to that. So we're in a world now. I mean, someone finds a 10 or a 50 or 100. It's very unlikely that someone's going to kind of give it in. Like there's obviously no statistics, but I think it'd be safe to say, correct me if I'm wrong, that the average Joe might be walking, looks at the ground, sees a $100 note, looks around, no one around, thinks to himself, you know what, if I go this or that, what's the chances that the person's going to go to the police station, for example, and report, oh, I've lost a $100 note, if anyone finds it and whatnot. So realistically speaking, based on the situation that we're in and the world that we live in, I mean, if you see a $100 note, if you were to leave it, Sheikh, rather than, for example, picking it up and putting it in the sadaqah on the person's behalf, because obviously, what are the chances of that person that lost it actually coming to find you? Oh, you're the guy that found my $100. I want it back.
That's what we'll go back to. Best thing my father taught us when young: it's on the floor, it's not yours. Don't pick it up.
Yeah.
The best thing is to always go back to that. If you say, oh, it's better to give it to sadaqah, it's not yours. You want to go give $100 from your own pocket.
Yeah.
So people are very charitable with someone else's money.
Yeah.
If you want to give $100 sadaqah, pay it from your own pocket.
Yeah.
It's not yours. Leave it. It's not like, I'm going to change the Islamic world deficit. I'm going to close the deficit of the Islamic world. You're not.
Yeah.
It's not yours. It's not going to change anything for me.
Yeah.
It's not going to change anything in the world for me. It's not mine. It's someone else's property.
Yep.
Eventually it will go to a rightful owner. The justice of God works some way that we don't understand.
Yep. Okay.
Somehow it might end in the pocket of someone that did lose $100.
Well,
God knows.
Yep.
These things happen. The Lord works in mysterious ways.
Ahsantum Sheikhna. Well, there you go, viewers. That's that part of the question. If you're walking, you find something, just leave it. You never know. The person that lost it might come back on their tracks and have a look and think, wow, I went back on the way that I came and there it is. I found it. So it's always good to, look at your own self and put yourself in someone else's shoes and say, you know what, if that happened to me, how would I like it if I went back on my tracks and I found this? So it's kind of like living in an honest world. Ahsantum Sheikhna. Moving forward, how does Islam justify reward-wise? So from a hasanah, like a good deed perspective, a poor person that gives $10 in charity, while a rich person gives $1,000 in charity. Obviously, the figures are very different. However, how does Islam look at it reward-wise, where a person's giving to his capability, but someone is giving much more than someone that can't give as much? Like, where does the balance of fairness come in? Is it looked at this person can only pay this much, so they get rewarded for the 10, for example, while the person that gives 1,000 gets rewarded for the 1,000? Like, how exactly does it work?
Well, firstly, al-a'mal bin-niyat.
Yeah.
It's got to do with the intention to begin with.
Yeah.
First thing I'll look at is the intention of the person giving.
Yeah.
So regardless of what they're worth.
Yeah.
Second thing I've got to look at, besides this, is the person that's giving the money. Al-Hasan, the good action is good, but from you it's better, as the Imam said to his companion.
Okay.
That if you're a pious person, for example, if Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam prays 2 rakat, compared to my lousy 2 rakat, what's someone that has ma'arifah is different, someone that doesn't have ma'arifah.
Yeah.
Someone that has understanding. So someone giving with understanding is different, someone that doesn't give. It's like when Cain and Abel, the famous story, Habil and Qabil,
Yep.
they gave their sacrifice. Qabil gives something and he doesn't even give what he wants or what is best. His intention's not good. Or you know those people that like to, when they give money and they go, Al-Muhandis so-and-so, the engineer so-and-so has given a donation of $2,000, and he starts to look at the crowd, wait for the approval that he's been given or the standing ovation almost. If I'm doing it for show, then that doesn't have the thing. And how burdening is it on me when I give it?
Yeah.
You know, شو اسمه ويأثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة. Sometimes people give, and even though they are in privation, they're in need, like they'll give you something and you think this guy must have a lot of money, but he's got nothing. He gave you what he had, and you wouldn't know that. So this is between God and them and the day of judgment.
Yeah. Okay.
That's when it's found out.
Yeah.
But furthermore, I wanted to mention, let's say, to answer your question, we both have a good intention, a rich man and a poor man.
Yep, that was coming. Yep.
Oh, sorry, I'll leave you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I mean.
So let's say a rich person had a good intention and the poor person had a good intention. And they both are equally as righteous.
Yep. What happens then?
Is the money of the rich man better? Of course it is. Why? Because the poor person will say, if I had the money, I would do the same exact verse in the Quran that says this.
Yeah.
But the other one's better. Why? Because he does have the money and he is giving it. Because we all say, if I won the lottery, what does everyone say?
Yeah.
I'll give half the money to
the poor.
Poor. As if they're giving half their wages to the poor.
Yeah.
But you're not doing that.
Ah, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So the guy is. So when you hear a story on Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, and said that he gave all his wealth, twice in his life.
Well.
And he gave half his wealth, we're talking about half of everything, 3 times in his life.
Well.
So he gave everything he had, he was left with nothing twice in his life.
Well.
Everything, not like, you know, when someone says to me, I have money, but this is for, I'm saving up to buy a house, or this money is for a holiday. No. We're talking about all this wealth, all these hidden accounts, you know, or, you know, sometimes someone says, I've got an offset account. No, there's none of these offsets or hidden accounts. Everything he had, he gave in the way of Allah. How can you compare that to someone else when it comes to giving?
Definitely. Ahsantum Sheikhna. Moving on. In Islam, I believe they say that giving someone a loan is more rewarding than actually giving someone, like for instance, someone comes up to me and says, can you give me $1,000? And I tell him, I'll borrow you the $1,000 as a loan rather than giving it to you. Why does Islam if Islam looks at it in this way? Why does Islam say that a loan is more rewarding than giving the money to the person without return? Like, where's the logic, so to speak, in that? Like, you'd think giving someone something and, you know, you're scot-free, see you later, is much better than obviously burdening the person. Is that the case?
I'll ask you something. When you have a child and he asks for something, you just give it to them and they don't do anything in return.
Yeah.
What kind of a child are you raising? So imagine a child, he says, I want this, you give him something. You tell him, can you clean your room? He says, no. Can you read and study? And he says, no. But when he wants something, you give it to them. What kind of a child are you raising?
Could fall under greed.
You're going to raise a sport brat,
yeah.
and there's someone that's going to develop some kind of narcissism or become a sociopath because he thinks the world is mine and I deserve it.
Okay.
So generally when someone begs and asks for money, they're asking for it and handout.
Yeah.
And this is not a good trait to teach someone. It becomes, this person becomes a burden on society. We're not talking about in situations where people are in need of money and they have no money. But the begging isn't something it's something that's frowned upon generally in society.
Yeah.
When I give a loan, I give someone a responsibility to pay back this loan. I don't let him become a freeloader. They come back to become a contributing member of society rather than a burdensome leech. You know, you have the sometimes you'll have these children that come and they're begging and they're like 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. In countries overseas, you don't really get this here. They come up to the car, they're knocking on your window and they ask you for money. Now the thing is, if you give them, you give in the way of Allah in the end of the day. But these people, what you're getting them used to eventually is this is going to be his job for the rest of his life.
Yep, okay.
It's pretty much this becomes a way of income. Their source of income is to beg. So giving a loan is good there.
Yep.
Because you say, hold on, you're going to pay this back to me. You bring them back, you're going to pay this back to you. Imagine, and I'm talking about giving a loan in the right way, and a lot of people don't do it in the right way.
Yep.
You know, it's something that should be discussed when writing contracts for a loan. A lot of people don't write contracts.
Yep.
Because if you tell them to sign a contract, they'll take offence.
Yep.
It's like with marriage, which is another subject, inshallah, you bring up, where you ask someone to write a contract. In the marriage, they say, no, I won't accept to sign the contract or write a contract. But in this day and age, or the world we live in, where people just won't divorce and they want to make a million excuses to divorce, and you have this, it's good to have these contracts in place so we don't have issues when it comes to that point. And likewise with a contract, with the loan. What if we both you lend me money and we both pass away?
No one knows about
the money. It doesn't exist anymore.
Okay. Ahsantum, Sheikhna, great insight on that question. If I have wronged someone, so this is something that you know, I speak about myself before the viewers or anyone else. If I have wronged someone, let's say I've spoken about someone, I've done ghibah, you know, spoken behind their back, backstabbed them, and so on and so on. If I have wronged someone and can't find the means to ask for forgiveness as it's too confronting, am I allowed to pay sadaqah in that person's name as a means of compensation for my actions toward them? If so, am I relieved from having to ask that person for forgiveness?
This should be under a subject about tawbah and repentance, really. It's a broad question. It depends on what I need to pay. Sometimes you're asking forgiveness for doing riba, sometimes you're asking for forgiveness, and there's different rules when it comes to asking forgiveness. And jurists have different opinions. Some jurists, for example, don't find it necessary in some cases for you to ask for forgiveness directly.
Okay.
Yeah, there's different rulings and like I said, it's a very broad question. But let's say I owe someone money. Bottom line is I have to return that money. I can't run around. I have to pay them the money I owe them. In fact, if I don't pay it, there's not going to be a way out on the Day of Judgment. People, the viewers have to really pay attention to this. You owe someone money, there's no outlet. The only outlet you're going to get is if you really don't have anything. So I've got absolutely nothing. I'm in a position where I've got nothing. If I'm in that position and I don't have anything.
Yep.
You know, we're talking about, you know, sometimes someone says I have nothing, but then you've got some land that they own. I
Yep.
genuinely have nothing.
Yeah.
It's different. But if I owe money, I have to pay that money. And that burden I will carry in my grave, and
Yeah.
I'll carry it on the day of judgment. Why should I put myself in that position?
Yeah, just to touch on that question, Sheikh. So the question here is, let's for example say I've spoken about you. I can't come up to you. I find it too confronting. I can't come up to you and say, you know, look, Sheikh, you got to forgive me. I spoke about you. So can I, for example, go to an ijji, like those donation money boxes that they have on the top shelf in a lot of shops? Can I go and say my intention is to put this $100 as a means of compensation for talking about Sheikh Mohammad, so that I don't have to come and ask you for forgiveness for talking about you. That's where we're trying to go.
Once again, this would fall under a discussion about tawbah,
Yep.
because in some cases you don't even have to come to the person.
Okay.
You know, it depends on the opinions of fuqaha. It differs.
Yeah.
In some cases, you just have to do istighfar.
Yeah.
Even with the case of ghiba.
Yeah.
It's where the ghiba has made an effect.
Yeah. Okay.
This is what other fuqaha say, even if it hasn't made an effect.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a different. If I want to pay sadaqah, yes, I may do something in order to give them something in return. Generally, a mu'min, a righteous person, when you ask them for forgiveness, they say, Allah ysamhak.
Yeah.
They won't even want to know what you did because they have forgiving nature.
Yeah.
Unless it's something where you literally damaged them.
Yeah.
Imagine they were, for example, their child was getting married, or they were trying to get married, and someone gave a bad information or misleading information about them. Yeah, I need to make amends for that and fix that by the means, like I said, with tawbah.
Yeah.
But generally, I need to. It's a broad question.
Yeah,
I
very
need to
broad,
assess
very broad.
every situation on its own merit. I can't just give you a response. I can do an action to get forgiveness, but am I going to accept that action on the day of judgment?
Yeah. Well, I guess some people find comfort in, you know, for example, I did this bad thing. If I put money on this guy's behalf, it might end up becoming something big. Maybe it'll kind of compensate for the bad that I've done. So that's
it's
you know.
to do like 2 rak'at, doesn't it? Or something. Say, I give this to everyone off oppressed.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, you know, if you go to Hajj, to extra tawaf, I give this to everyone oppressed. So do a ziyarah for everyone off oppressed. But if you're a righteous person and you're heading towards God and you have that intention, Allah Azza wa Jal will remedy your problems if you are heading in the right direction.
Okay.
Not if you're someone that, once again, people that feign religiosity, the people that have the religious facade, you know, the religious veneer. When it rips off, then you see all the
true colours.
The true colours. We're not talking about that. We're talking about in general.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. Next question, Sheikh. Now, inshallah, there's a few more to go. So hopefully, viewers, you can bear patient with us, but they do get quite interesting. So this is a question that a lot of people ask. You know, moving into a sectarian sort of question. Am I allowed to give sadaqah to a non-Shia person? Like, can I just give it to anyone and everyone, or is it only exclusive to someone, you know, that's following the madhab of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam?
Well, the word sadaqah is a hasana. Hasana means charity.
Yeah.
And a charity, generally we hear the word charity, what do we think? Money.
Yeah.
But charity is a good act.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, when the Messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam says a smile is what?
An act of charity.
An act of charity.
Yeah.
So it's a good action. And a good action is good for everybody.
Yeah.
Who is there worse than the enemies of Imam Hussein? If you look on the face of the earth, who is worse than those that killed Imam Hussein?
No one comes close.
Well, the army that came, did Imam Hussein not give them charity? Did not give their horses water? Did he not give them water? Did not wash them? So isn't that an act of charity?
Definitely.
So they're the worst of God's creation, yet this is in terms of sadaqah. Now, if we talk about obligatory zakat or khums, it's different.
Okay.
This is where it changes.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm giving khums and there's a Muslim that doesn't pray, as opposed to a Muslim that prays, the money I give it to is the Muslim that prays as priority.
Yeah.
So this is where it becomes different. They have priority to that wealth.
Yep.
That's for the obligatory charity. Well, other charity, I can give from my wealth to whomsoever I please. You know, sometimes, this is for the viewers, sometimes you want to pay sadaqah. We have this habit when we pay sadaqah, everyone likes to put in a tin. It's good to put money in the tin, but you can give sadaqah to your children, your family. You can give them sadaqah. Say, I'm leaving, I give a child some money, it's sadaqah. It's a good action. A sadaqah that tidfa al-bala, the one that removes away mishaps, is even given to your own children, or the people around you. And sadaqah, another thing, is not only for the poor. Sadaqah, good actions even for the rich. I can even give money to the rich. It's my own money. We're not talking about obligatory sadaqah. We're talking about my money to give an act of a hasana, or a good act I can give to anyone, because I can do a good action for anybody. So it isn't limited to them. So in that case, when you're talking about not followers of Ahlul Bayt, even non-Muslims or even atheists or whatever, and in the case here, the enemies of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but the Imam was still charitable towards them, because this is the whole thing of the message of God. Is for the world, it's for the universe.
Ahsantum Sheikhna, great insight once again. So this one's a bit of a long question. However, we'll just kind of address each part of it in a very short term. Otherwise, we're gonna run out of time. So the question that's being asked here is, what is the difference between khums, zakat, kafara, sadaqah, jizya, and fidya? So we touched up on khums earlier. So we'll go through them one by one.
You missed one.
So there's one missing.
Diya as well.
Oh, diya. Okay.
It's another form of paying money. Yeah, go on.
Okay, awesome. So we'll add that to the list. So we'll start off with that actually. What is diya exactly?
Diya is blood money.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily only mean for people that have killed someone. Like, I have to pay blood money. If someone has killed someone under an Islamic government, they are either, it's the people that are, for example, if a man's been killed, his sons, his children are the ones that decide whether they want the killer to be killed or whether the killer pays blood money.
Oh, wow.
Which generally they will consider, if I was to ask you which is better, paying the blood money or having the person killed, but a lot of people say, oh, it's better to forgive. And I say, no, it depends on the situation. See, if your situation is you're someone like a Martin Bryant that just went on a loose cannon in Port Arthur and just killed everybody, or a Timothy McVeigh or someone like that, you'd say, no, you'd kill these people. In the case where Timothy McVeigh was killed, because their murder, the act of killing was flagrant. They did it with impunity. There was no discrimination in whatsoever. But in a case where someone was killed and it wasn't an act of cold-blooded murder, sometimes they will take the blood money instead. But blood money is not only for murder. You can take blood money. There's also blood money, say if someone was to hit someone. If I was to, for example, strike you on the hand, okay, and if I was to mark you, depends on the colour of the mark, I have to pay some kind of diya.
Interesting.
Blood money that's paid for that. So that's one form of payment.
All right, awesome. That's one form. Zakat, you mentioned it earlier. What is it? Very, very briefly, so we can move on.
Zakat's also a nice subject to talk about, because zakat's paid on livestock generally, and if you want to talk about, you pay on your wheat. What do they call that collectively? Agricultural produce. Date palms and raisins. But generally, when you pay this, see, there's rules about this. It's when you own a certain amount, say, of cattle, there is a certain percentage that you have to pay. Okay. But that's only if the cattle are grazing off the land.
Okay.
But if they're like grain fed, or you fed them by hand, that's different.
Okay.
So you're paying for using the land. Do you get what I mean? And there's rule on that when it comes to zakat. So zakat is people that fall under these categories. You won't really find any of our viewers in this position unless they went to James Roos Agricultural College, they're farmers or something.
Okay. Sheikh, kafara. What is kafara?
Kafara is also something different. It's an expiation. When I when I have a kafara to pay, it's basically a punishment. That's what they call it, kafara.
Okay.
I've got to pay as a punishment for what I've done wrong.
Okay.
For example, when I feed 60 poor people
Yep.
for breaking a day in Shah Ramadan deliberately.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I pay the kafara on that day deliberately.
Okay.
For breaking that day deliberately.
Hassan Sheikh, Sadaqah we touched upon earlier. So two left. Jizya, what's jizya?
Jizya is also non-applicable unless you're in an Islamic state.
Okay.
Because Muslims have to pay khumus zakat. We have what's called a dhimmi. A dhimmi is a non-Muslim. See, a lot of the Christians and that lived on the lands, lived in that time in Islamic land, they would pay their own form of tax,
Yep.
which was called the jizya, was different to the taxes that the Muslims were paying.
Yep.
Sometimes if you look at Christians today, they may look at the word dhimmi as offensive.
Yep.
Because obviously a lot of them lived under the tyrannical caliphates,
Yep.
and the way they used to torture people
Yep.
was un-Islamic. Obviously there were monarchies that were passed from one to the other
Yep.
in the democratic way of killing the guy
Okay.
before you.
Yep.
You know, so with this case, in this case, the dhimmi pays what's called the jizya, which is a tax
Yep.
for the non-Muslim
Okay.
living non-Islamic. So it's not applicable unless you live in under
Okay.
Islamic government.
And final one with regards to that question, fidya.
Fidya is different. Why? Because it's not a punishment for a deliberate action.
Yeah. Okay.
Fidya is pretty much you pay as a compensation for something that you couldn't do.
Quick example.
Shahr Ramadan.
Yep.
If you're, for example, too old and fasting becomes unbearable,
Yep.
and you don't fast, you're not fasting because you're not capable.
Yep.
You're not fasting because you find it difficult, extremely difficult due to your old age. Or say you're a diabetic
Yep.
and you have severe diabetes. You have a situation where fasting is totally unbearable.
Mm.
Do you pay what's called a fidya? It's like, I'm not fasting, and it's not really much, you know. In that case, you pay a ta'am miskin.
Yeah.
Feed one miskin.
Yep. Okay.
So
That's for
per
each day.
For
Yep.
each day,
Okay.
and then which is probably it's 700 grams of flour.
Yeah.
You know, which what you get it for 70 cents.
Yeah, something
You know,
like that.
It's
Very, very insignificant.
it's just
Yeah,
like that's what
okay.
fidya is. It's
Yep.
to make up for like one for the team. You know,
Yeah, definitely,
I'm fasting too.
All right. Inshallah, not too many to go. Sheikh, something that people have, I've heard a lot of these stories personally. Like, for example, you might be at home, and let's, for example, say you might not have money on your bank card. You don't have cash on you, and you need something urgently. Person might, for example, go to, as we mentioned earlier, the ijje, or it's like the donation tin where you've put money for the poor. The question is, am I allowed to borrow money from the poor people's money, in this case the donations in the tin, and return it at a later date? Like, you get some people that lift it upside down and try and, pull out the notes from the bottom, and they go through extreme measures.
What notes? Those coins. Those tin cans are usually full of silver coins.
Yeah.
You know, you get sick of seeing Queen Elizabeth's head in them. So anyway, generally with this, if the money is yours, it's actually your money. You're the one putting this money in.
Yeah.
And you haven't said what the money's for.
Yeah.
You say it's a sadaqah tin.
Yeah.
It still hasn't been mentioned what its use is for.
Yeah.
And it's your money and it's in your use. It's your tin.
Yeah.
It's not some organisation's tin.
Yeah.
If it's an organisation's tin, it's theirs. Once you've put it in there, it's for them.
Yeah.
But if it's yours and it's your money, it's not someone else given the
Yeah.
sadaqah and hasn't given you permission. Like, for example, sometimes people will go, I've got a tin of sadaqah, I want it for the orphans, they'll give it to me. I'll say, here, take it back.
Yeah.
They'll say, you go find the orphans.
Yeah.
Because you've given me something that's too constrained. It's hard
Yeah.
for I need to find an orphan. Go to one of these organisations
That deal with the orphans.
Deal with the orphans. So I haven't mentioned what it's for.
Yeah.
So technically you can still take it.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, I've seen a lot of these tins when you open them, you know. there's no luster in there. There's no blink in there. So I don't know what they're going to find in there. You're going to be dropping a few echidnas down with platypus or platypi or whatever you're going to say. Come out of there before you eventually get something with,
Sure.
Yeah.
Ahsan, Sheikh. Is it true that if you owe a debt, I've actually I've heard a lot of people ask this question, and we tend to be given the same answer. What we want to know here is this the case? Is it true that if you owe a debt to someone and they request their payment while you are in prayer, is it obligatory to break your prayer, your wajib salah, to fulfill the person's debt? So you're praying Dhuhr prayer. You come up to me, I owe you money. You tell me, I demand that you give me my money right now. Do I have to break my prayer?
It's funny, this is one of the masail that people know and they don't know how to do tayammum.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They know, for example, they tell you, the people that use, I didn't find anything to do sujood, so I did sujood on my nails.
Yeah.
Or I was doing wudu and I took water from my beard.
Yeah.
And they've totally lost the meaning of what these fatwa and what they belong. I don't want to talk about the previous two, but this one specifically.
Yeah.
If I owe someone money and the time is up for that money, and they have come and they want the money while I'm praying, I have to pay it.
Yeah.
So it's a circumstance upon circumstance for you to get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I could be saying, for example, I'm praying and I'm getting the guy to wait.
Yeah.
But say, for example, I borrow the money for 2 weeks, and the guy comes the next day and wants the money. I'll keep praying. He gets his money in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That was the agreement,
Yeah, yeah.
If someone that's late on their debt needs to pay it, and the person's coming, and I have the money with me, so I don't have the money. I don't break my prayer and say, listen, I don't have the money. If I don't have the money, I don't have the money. But if I have to have the money, I have to pay it. So I don't know why even people know this masala. Yeah. It's not.
But just to elaborate slightly on it, so. Because a lot of people tell you that, for example, you can't break, I know it's not related to this aspect, but just to touch up on it, a lot of people tell you that there's very minimal circumstances where you can where it becomes wajib to break a wajib salah. So you're saying if the time is up and the person's standing right there next to you and you've entered salah and he says, look man, my 2 weeks is up, I want my money, it's obligatory for you to break it. You have to break it.
For that point, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
That's if I'm going to pay him.
Yeah.
I'll be there to pay him because I have to pay my debt.
Yeah.
And he can't wait. See, if he's coming and says, while I'm praying, he wants the money now. Yeah. It's to indicate the importance of paying your debt as well.
Okay.
It's not your money, it's someone else's money. You have to pay it back.
Yeah. Okay. Ahsan, Sheikh now. Very broad topic. Just to touch up on it slightly, because we are running out of time, and there's about 5 more questions to go. Again, without elaborating too much, why is interest haram? This interest that the banks have, and if you feel like it's too broad of a question, just feel to skip.
If you go to a book Alal al-Shara'i that shows you the reasons why things are haram, you'll find there's a few narrations, but the main ones, like and Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, إنما حرم الله الربا بمعنى so that the ma'ruf حتى لا يذهب المعروف, something like that around these words. That Allah made interest haram, so ma'ruf, like ma'ruf being good action or goodwill or people doing goodness, does not leave or does not disappear. Okay. What does that mean? That means people stop earning an honest dollar, people stop doing trade, people stop helping each other. If you take a look at the world today that is an interest-based world, how many people do you know are homeowners? Not talking about people that have a mortgage, because they're not homeowners. The bank owns their home. How many people do you know own their home?
Very small amount.
And if you want to buy a house, it's very difficult. Why? Because of interest. Yeah. And now every time someone wants to do something, there's no more goodwill. People don't do normal trade. You have ridiculous prices. Like honestly, if you want to talk to some professions, I don't even want to mention them because some people get offended. Some professions, they get $350 an hour. And you might think $350 an hour, is he talking about the oldest known profession? No.
Yeah.
I'm talking about something that's similar to that, because people that do these kind of things and they charge ridiculous amounts of money. And actually, it's extortion.
Yeah.
And the reason this exists, because of the interest.
Yeah.
The interest exists, and now we are forced, because people have got loans to pay back at astronomical rates.
Yeah.
You almost pay double the property amount. So this is why it's haram, and it's something that's looked down upon. The money of interest is soft.
Yeah.
It has such big ramifications and punishment, and Allah Azza wa Jal says those that eat this, and the punishment of those that eat the money from interest, it destroys communities, it destroys society, it destroys people helping each other. When you think of bankers in general and the people that give interest, they're not people that people respect.
Yeah.
They're looked as Shylocks. They're people that are ripping people off, because Allah Azza wa Jal did not want this system in, because it is a capitalist system. I'm not saying just giving you a capitalist system. I'm not saying that socialism is better. Yeah. Capitalism, obviously the lesser of the two evils, but that's a capitalist society.
Okay. Awesome. So viewers, just quickly on that one, inshallah, we will eventually get to the topic of interest and its laws, because I know a lot of you are probably thinking now, for example, I own a house, I got a loan from the bank, my car is on finance, etc., etc. So inshallah, we will touch up on that as the episodes come along. Sheikh, now a few more questions, just very quickly with the very, very limited time that we have. Is it permissible to steal back the money that someone owes you if they refuse to pay it? Very quickly.
I don't like the word steal.
Yep.
If something's yours, you can take it back.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I see my phone at your house, I can take it.
Yeah.
If I put $1,000 at your house, I can take my $1,000 back.
Yeah.
My $1,000. So basically, you're taking what's yours, but you're not allowed to steal.
Yeah, but for instance, you said about the 1,000. So the person, I borrowed someone $1,000. They got it at their house. It's sitting there, and the guy just tells me, I refuse to pay you back your money.
Is it legal under Australian law? Because you have to also
abide by the laws of the country.
Our jurists say you have to abide by the laws of the country, and I'm not like I'm being serious. You have to, because there's a system.
Yeah.
If everyone goes vigilante, and everyone decides to take the law into their own hands, then you have no system.
It's going to be all over the place.
Yeah, you need to have a system. The system says there's a way to get the money, then that's the way. If the system allows you, I'm not a legal professional, but if the system allows you to go take the money, then
by all means,
you can.
Okay. Moving on, Sheikhna. This is a very big one, actually. Is it necessary for us to be concerned about what will happen with the money given to a charity cause? Like, are we obliged to question the authenticity and reliability of the person collecting? Very quickly, Sheikhna.
Well, when I give money, if I'm going to give a substantial amount, I should be questioning who I'm giving it to.
Yeah.
But generally, if someone asks, if I'm going to give him 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 insignificant amounts, you're just giving it. Someone asked, someone knocked on my door, I gave him. I didn't want to turn him empty-handed.
Yeah.
I gave it for that reason. But when I'm giving my hummus, yes, I have to make sure I'm giving the hummus to someone that I trust, that knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
That knows how to deal with the hummus.
Yeah.
I don't give it to some random person. I don't just because. Also, another thing is that you've got to be careful. Not everyone that claims to be a clergy or religious personality is someone that is.
Yeah.
I have to ask about this person's credentials. Who is he? In terms of asking about who they are, is this person someone that's, if I don't know who they are.
Yeah. But
if I do know who they are, then, and I trust this person, that's who I give to when it comes to giving my hummus in that sense.
Okay. Another interesting one. Are all forms of betting haram? If not, what type of betting is allowed?
Oh my God, this is good, because with betting in general, I'm going to open up a can of worms here. But anyway, if you look historically, we never really had, because you're talking about betting. Betting's got to do with sports.
Yeah.
We never really had sports like we have today.
Yeah.
In the last 200 years, what we have made all new. If you go back to the time Alam al-Halli used to make he would say that every form of sport other than horse riding, camel riding, and archery is batil.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't permissible.
Yeah.
And then I think it was the Shahid Thani that actually said no, they're not. You know, because obviously as time moves on, different issues are dealt with differently.
Yeah.
Probably at the time of Allama Halli, there wasn't the sports that existed at the time of Shahid Thani, but they're still a while back, both of them. And as time came, the progression today of what's happening, our fuqaha permit a lot of these sports. Now, from that point, we go to the gambling part. Can I bet on sports? No, because it's still a game of chance. A game of chance is forbidden. The only case where they do let you bet is with horse riders. The riders can bet against each other.
Oh, okay, so jockey versus jockey.
The reason is, I think it's because they testing skills of something that's applicable in life. Like I think it was Oscar Wilde that said that golf was a walk that was spoilt or something like that. Pretty much, I forget what his words. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but pretty much golf isn't going to make you enhanced when it comes to military prowess, whereas horse riding back then, the cavalry, they dominated the battlefront for years. So it was very important. Archery was something that was very significant in terms of being a military force and having a military presence, as we can see with the United States of America. You know, being a military presence is important because you rule the world.
Okay. Awesome. So Sheikh, there was a few more, but I think we're running out of time, so we'll just we'll finish up with this question. Okay. Do my parents have a right over my wealth? If so, are they allowed to take from my money without my consent? And we'll finalize with that question.
There are a lot of my. Listen, if you're living with your parents and your parents are supporting you, it's different to someone that lives on their own as independent. And it's different to someone that lives with their parents and actually pays board and does their share.
Okay.
So if I'm a freeloader living with my parents, and they're giving me pocket money, that pocket money isn't technically mine. It's still theirs.
Okay.
I'm still under their authority. I'm living with them. But if I'm an independent person that works and I'm independent in that case, then it's my money. It's different. But if I'm someone that's still being supported, it's technically not my money to begin with.
Okay. Ahsantum Sheikh. Now, unfortunately, we weren't able to get through the rest of the questions as we are running out of time. Jazakallah khair jazak Sheikhna for all the Ahsantum for all the answers and the great knowledge that you've been able to provide us with. Viewers, thank you for listening in. Alhamdulillah, this time seems to be successful. Inshallah, next week, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. So this is a weekly show on Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m., which is live. We will have guest speaker Sheikh Nami Farhat, who will be giving Q&As in regards to the holy month of Ramadan, which is around the corner. Again, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'd like to thank our guest speaker, Sheikh Mohammad, for attending. Jazakumullah khair jaza, and inshallah we'll see you next week live. Till then, fi amanillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.